Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Luca if you're new here. For today's video we have a giant book haul to get through. I think I have 5 giant stacks of books. So this is going to take a while and I'm going to try to be quick with it, which I usually never am. But I'm really going to try this time, even though it's obviously going to take a while because I have, I think, around 40 to 50 books here. I'll count them when I'm finished. It's a mix of literary fiction, fantasy, romance, all sorts of things, and I am so excited to show you all of these. I do want to say that I have been accumulating these over the past couple of weeks, months. I did not buy all of this in one go. That is very, very important to me that you know that. But anyway, we are going to get straight into it, and the first book that I am going to show you, it's actually 3 books in one because they're all Emily Henry books. I have Funny Story, which is her newest release. I bought this one, I think, a week and a half ago or something, 2 weeks ago, and I have also already read it, so I'm going to talk about it in a reading wrap-up. This is about 2 people who both get dumped because the people who dumped them are getting together, even though the girl was engaged and the guy had been in a relationship for like 3 years with their partners, and both of their partners left them for each other. And so, long story short, they end up being roommates and a romance develops. It's fake dating. You will have to hear me talk about it in another video. Then I have Happy Place by Emily Henry. This one I have actually also read. I have read a few of these, I think like 3, and we just started out with 2 of them. I also will be talking about this one in another video, but I got both of those in the very American floppy cover. And then I also have People We Meet on Vacation, again by Emily Henry, also the American floppy cover. I thrifted both of these, so I think I paid €5 for this one and €1 for this one because I found it on a market. And I'm very happy with them. I read Beach Read I think 2 years ago, and I enjoyed that one. However, everyone said that Beach Read was their absolute favourite Emily Henry book, and I think I gave that one 3.8 stars. I did enjoy it. I might even reread it in the future to see if I will appreciate it more now that I'm a little bit older. However, when I was like, well, I gave this one 3.75 or 3.8 stars, so if this is everyone's favourite and this is as good as it gets, then I do want to read all of them, but I'm not in a hurry. And then I started reading them and I have so many thoughts, so stay tuned for that video. I'm going to stack all of the books here. I have emptied this one, and this one. I also have room over here if we run out of room, which we probably will. Next, I have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I have heard so many people rave about this book, and I think a novella in this series recently came out, and then the next one in the series is coming out in July, something like that. So I really wanted to know what all the fuss was about. I actually already lent it to a friend and she absolutely loved it. She gave it 5 stars and she has been bitching and moaning and begging me to read it. So I am really excited to read this one. It's young adult fantasy romance, I think, enemies to lovers from what I've heard, and then also it's about a girl without any powers blending in with the elites who do have powers. I don't know. So many people have loved this book that I am so excited to read it, and also after I read Fourth Wing last year, I really wanted to start reading fantasy romances because romances have not been doing it for me as much as they used to do it. So really excited to read that one as well. Then we have A Man Called Ove, I have no idea how to pronounce that, by Frederick Backman. I think this was also turned into a film with, what's his name? The guy from Forrest Gump. That guy. I forgot his name. Anyway, this is supposed to be a very moving and just very good literary fiction book. I have heard so many people say that they loved this book, and also a girl who had read like 250 books in a year. First of all, how? How do you read 250 books in a year? But she said that this was her absolute favourite book out of all of those, so I'm very intrigued. I also thrifted this one, which you can see I got a lot of my books from World of Books, so the pages are quite yellow and someone wrote a name in the top, but I love that. I love it if my books feel a bit used. So I'm really excited to read this one. On the back it says it will make you laugh and cry, and it was Spectator's Book of the Year. So that has got to be good. I have very high hopes of this one. I think it's about an old man who forms a friendship with the little girl that moves in next door to him or something, but like not in a weird way, in a very sweet way. Then I have Stay True by Huasu. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's all I'm able to make of it. It's a memoir about friendship, loss, and grief, and that just sounded really, really good to me. And it also says winner of the Pulitzer Prize, so my hopes are up. I think that this is going to be really, really good, and I have heard very few things about this book. However, all of the things that I did hear were really, really good, so I'm excited to read this one. And also, I love this cover. Then I have a very, very popular book talk book, and I have seen this book everywhere, so I bought it because I was left out of the loop and I really wanted to know what all the fuss was about. So then I have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. This is the first book in the Shepherd's King duology. The second one is called Two Twisted Crowns, if I believe. I have heard great things about this. It's a fantasy with a subplot of romance, and I have heard that the subplot of romance is really, really good. However, it's not the main focus of the story. I think I've tried to read the back once and it could have just as well been Chinese to me, but that's most of the time with fantasy books. I read the back and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. You're just gonna have to read it. It is kind of a confusing story to me at the moment, but I think that's going to be so much better when I actually read it. And I've heard so many people love that book. Then I have another romance, which I have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I am actually so intrigued by this book because I have read a few of Ali Hazelwood's rom-com books, and she does rate like her stories are very funny. Like I'm always giggling because her characters are just really entertaining and funny. So I am hoping that it's going to be the same with this book. And this one has a very interesting fantasy element to it because the girl is a vampire, I think, and the guy is a werewolf, and it's a marriage of convenience. Everyone was raving about this book back in February, and I again felt left out because I am just a girl and I do what the rest does. So it's not really a fantasy, I think, even though vampires and werewolves are very much fantastical creatures. But I think it's a marriage of convenience in an attempt to form an alliance between the werewolves and the vampires. That's all I know. Everyone loves this book. I have heard so many people give this one 5 stars, and if they didn't give it 5 stars, they gave it 4.5 stars. So I am so interested, because I did not know. Apparently Ali Hazelwood used to write like fantasy fan fiction. I have no idea. I did not know that. So apparently she has gone back to like the way she started, and I'm so intrigued. Then I'm like trying to pick a stack to pick a book from. Then I have One Day. I have recently watched the TV show One Day and I loved it so much, and I kept saying I'm not going to read the book because I had watched the film and then also watched the TV show. And then as I was watching the TV show, I was like, I could use a bit more of these characters because I loved them, and I was so adamant and loud about the fact that I was not going to read this book. And then it was on sale on Amazon and I bought the book. However, 5 minutes after I bought this book, I heard, I think, Sarah Caroli and Destiny Sidwell say that they hated the book, that they loved the show, but they gave the book like 2 stars. And then I started looking on Goodreads and so many people agreed. Someone rang the doorbell as I was talking, so I sprinted downstairs, opened the door, accepted a parcel that was not for us but for the neighbours, and sprinted back up, and now I am confronted with my complete lack of coordination because I am out of breath. Okay. As I was... Oh. I might have broken my father's chair just now. Anyway, as I was saying, I heard so many people say that they did not like the book while they loved the show, so I'm a bit scared that that's going to be the same for me. However, I might still give it a try if I'm in the mood for it, because I do already know the characters, so it might be a bit easier to get into. And I think I saw one quote about getting older and turning 40, I don't know. Just something that Dexter said, the guy, about turning 40 or getting older or something. That really intrigued me and that made me buy the book. And then 5 minutes later I heard that everyone hated it. But still, I also kind of like the cover, so I don't really mind having it on my shelves. However, it would be fantastic if at one point I actually wanted to read it. Okay, then I have 2 books by an author that I actually almost never, actually not almost never, that I just never read anymore. I have Maybe Someday and Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover. Hear me out. I don't really read Colleen Hoover anymore. I have 3 books that I still really appreciate because I loved them like 2 years ago, and so I'm not going to hate on those books. However, she's not my favourite author anymore, and the reason I bought these books, even though I know that she's not my favourite author anymore, is because I was on the market, and it's the same market that I got People We Meet on Vacation I was walking with my friend. It was the first stand. We had to go all through the market. This market was huge. So I walked up to this stand and I like nudged my friend and was like, I know so many of these books, like I might want to get them. And I asked him, how much are these books? He says €1 per book. €1. If you buy a book in the bookstore, it's like €14. So €1. I was like, I don't even care what the books are. I'm taking every single one that I know and that might intrigue me a little bit, because €1, that's actually a steal. That's me making money, okay? So that's why I got both of these, because this one has intrigued me since I like started reading Colleen Hoover books. It's probably going to be a while until I read them. I might never read them. However, I could not leave them there. If for €1 I wanted to give myself the opportunity to read them. So this one I also got for €1, and it's called The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. I might want to read this one in a video where I read books out of my comfort zone, in genres out of my comfort zone, because this is a psychological suspense novel. So it's about a married couple. I mean, hello. It literally has wedding rings and the title is The Perfect Marriage. And I go, I think it's about married people? Yes, it's about a married couple. The woman is a very successful defense attorney and the guy apparently had an affair with a woman and she turns up dead in his house. And so his wife ends up having to defend him and try to make a judge see that he is not guilty of killing his mistress. That was a really all over the place explanation. I am so sorry. That could have been like 2 sentences and I made it into that whole jabbery of words. It says, would you defend your husband if he was accused of killing his mistress? There you go. That was literally 1 sentence, the premise of the book. I have heard really, really good things about this one. And again, €1. I'll try anything for €1. So that's that one. We have a little pond behind our garden and there are kids playing with a sub and stuff and they're screaming really, really loudly. So if you can hear the kids screaming outside, I am sorry. I can't very well shout at them to shut their mouth because I'm filming a book video. Can't really tell them that. So as I was saying, I am intrigued by this one because I mostly read romance or either romance fantasy or literary fiction with a love story. I need to have romance, like not romance, but I need to have a love story somewhere in there. Shut up! That's loud. They are loud. Anyway, I'm intrigued to read that one. That's all I wanted to say. Next, I don't really know if this is supposed to be a romance or a literary fiction with a love story entwined or like a subplot of romance. Good God! The urge to smack my book out of the window and try to hit their heads with it. It's really, really big. Why are they shouting like that? Again, if you can hear them, I'm so sorry. We are just going to continue and I'm just gonna hope for the best. The book I wanted to talk about was Only Love Can Hurt Like This by Page 2. I went on the hunt for this book because I especially wanted the like old version where the where the letters are black, because I think a new edition has come out with white letters, but I like this one so much more. Oh! I constantly was like, what happened to this book? Why is it so incredibly yellow? Because inside, it's not. Why is it yellow? And now I'm reading a Tesco exclusive sprayed edge edition. So this is a Tesco exclusive edition. Why on earth would you spray these pages yellow? Like old and used yellow. Make them blue. Look at this book. Where do you see yellow? Why does this need to be... Okay, anyway. I have no idea what this book is about. It says an earth-shattering secret, a life-changing love story, and it was €4. And again, I am a sucker for a good deal. It says neither of them expected to fall in love, but sometimes life has other plans. It says when Ren realizes her fiancé is in love with someone else, she thinks her heart will never recover. On the other side of the world, Anders lost his wife. That's what I knew. I knew one of them was a widow. Is it called a widow if it's a man? I feel very, very stupid at the moment. I'm just going to rephrase that. I knew one of them had lost their partner. Anyway, so one of them loses their partner and the other one is left by their fiancé, and I don't know how they get together, but I think it's a love story between them. It sounded interesting to me. I have heard that this one is a sad book, so I like sad books. Next I have Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. I had heard so many good things about this one, and I think I heard Heather McLeary... There's a hair on my head. That's tickling me. I think Heather McLeary was the one that raved about this book, and that was good enough reason for me to buy it. So I recently read this one, so I will also be talking about this in another video. However, this was about 2 serial killers who kill serial killers. So you have serial killers and then you have these people who kill the serial killers. And they kind of make a game out of it, and then a romance between them develops. And it's very much a rom-com, a dark rom-com. So not dark romance, but a little bit of dark romance, and then also a rom-com, but a little bit of rom-com. So you have a dark rom-com. You're welcome for explaining that to you, because that would have been too hard to understand otherwise, obviously. Anyway, yeah. I just say so many dumb things today. I hear myself talk and then I'm like, what? A dark rom-com needed no explanation. But anyway, you got it. Then I have Penance by Eliza Clark. I had been wanting to buy this one for quite some time, even though it's relatively new. I have Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. I have not read that book. Did I feel the need to buy this one because I like this author even though I have not read a word by her? Yes. Yes, I did. Anyway, it says Best of Young British Novelists, and it says, do you know what happened already? Did you know her? Did you see it on the internet? Did you listen to a podcast? Did the host make jokes? Nearly a decade after the horrifying murder of the 16-year-old Joan Wilson in a seaside town, journalist Alex Z. Corelli has written the definitive account of the crime. These kids are literally going at it outside. I don't know what they're doing that requires this much sound. I sound like a very grumpy old man. I sound like him. Of. Anyway, I was really intrigued by this book, and I convinced one of my friends to buy it, and then I also had to buy it, obviously, because you can't convince someone to buy it and then not have the book yourself, because I was like, well, I think it's going to be really good, and she was like, okay, great, I'll get it. And then I was like, oh, perfect, I'll get it too. So that is how this book came to be on my shelves, but I am really excited to read it, and I just think that it's going to be a really nice change from all the romance that I've been reading. I have not been enjoying the romances as much as I used to enjoy the romances, so I think I need to switch up the genres a little bit. Then I have a book that is completely different from the books I normally read, even though I do want to read more of these types? I wanted to say kinds or types. Anyway, I bought White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I can only pronounce his last name, Dostoevsky. It's called White Nights. It's really, really small. It's a Penguin classic. This is the mass paperback version. I think it's like £3. I paid €4 or something for this. It's supposed to be a very touching love story. It's obviously going to be really, really quick, but it says that it's a really easy to understand classic. However, it is very profound and deep and a meaningful love story. And also, like, the real reason that I bought this book is because I watched a TikTok from Jack Edwards that said that he watched a TikTok that said, you think you know love and then you read Dostoevsky's White Nights. And then Jack Edwards said that he bought the book before he could like the TikTok. And I actually bought the book before I could like his TikTok. So I was really, really quick with it. I was like, okay, perfect, add to cart, buy, I'll take it. Especially because it was like €4. So I'm really excited to read this one, because then I can also say that I read a classic. And I don't really read classics that often, because I like books that make me feel like I am relaxing for a bit, and I read books for fun. However, I do also love like deeper and meaningful books, and I think that's going to be a perfect one. Speaking of deep and meaningful books, I'm scared of this book. I am actually really scared of this book. A, because it's a fucking prick. And B, it has people sobbing on the floor, like not being able to breathe, tears, snot streaming down their face. And I want that. I really do want that. I love those books. However, it also feels like you have to be in the perfect mood to read this book, and you have to be like very happy mentally. And I am, but I don't think I'm happy enough to read this book. So I am really excited about this one. I don't even really know what it's about. I know it's about some friends in New York, but that sounds really happy because it makes me think of Friends, which is not what this is. Okay, anyway, besides the fact that it's supposed to be really, really sad, I know next to nothing about this book, so I can't really tell you that much. I know that I am so excited to read it because a friend of mine read it and said that it was absolutely fantastic. And then another friend of mine started reading it and then stopped at about page 260, 50 or something, she said, because she could not take it, because it was too heavy on her heart. So I am so intrigued. However, I don't think I'm going to be picking this one up anytime soon, because like I said, I think the timing has to be perfect. But I am so happy that I found this book, in especially this copy, because it's again the very American floppy version, which they don't sell in the stores here. So I'm so happy that I have it on my shelves, even though I'm not going to be picking it up anytime soon. But I also do think that I need to read it in the summer, because I think if I'll read it in the winter, during my winter depression, that's going to be a disaster. So I think I do need to read it in the summer when my mental health is in a better place, because I don't do well in the winter. Anyway, next I have Tell Me Lies by Carola Lovering. This is about a very toxic relationship, and I think that the cover is perfect for the book, even though I have not read the book yet. But it says tell me lies like repeatedly, and then it scratches those out and says tell me you love me, tell me you need me, tell me I'm yours, tell me it's not over, tell me you'll change, and then tell me lies, the last one is not scratched out. But it's about a girl who goes to university in California, and then she immediately meets this very handsome, cocky, arrogant guy, and they kind of get involved, and it says new friends, new parties, stimulating classes, blah blah blah, the whole university crap. Then they fall in love, and I think it's kind of a coming of age story about a toxic relationship, so I don't know if this has a happy ending. And I don't even know, like, when I'll read it, if I want it to have a happy ending, because if it's that toxic, then maybe you should just not be together. However, I am really excited about that one because I thoroughly enjoy reading about toxic relationships. I love Magnolia Parks. But the thing is, I can enjoy reading about toxic relationships without wanting that for myself. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that in my life. I'm not romanticizing that. I just really enjoy reading about them because it's just really, really entertaining. I do romanticize Magnolia Parks. I'm lying. I love Magnolia Parks. Anyway, moving on, I have The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. It says shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2011, so it's quite an older book. I have no idea what this is about, like absolutely none. However, I went into this really adorable thrifted bookstore, like secondhand bookstore, and sometimes it's like a really hit or miss place. So sometimes I walk out with like 10 books and sometimes I walk out with no books. However, the person that was working was a really sweet old woman, and all the proceeds go to charity. So I wanted to buy something, so I bought this one. I think it was like €2 or something, so it's completely fine. But I just wanted to buy something because I had been in there browsing for quite some time, and then I was like, I don't really need any of these books. And two that did look interesting, like I already had those, so I bought this one. It was a pity buy, but the woman was so sweet. So anyway, next I have a book that was very much free at the train station. The local train station has this book exchange card, so every single morning when I go to school, I take a look, and if I recognize them, I'll take them with me. I have never put a book back, actually, when it's a book exchange card, so I really should put a book back. I think I might put this one back, but it's You've Reached Sam, and I was intrigued enough to take it with me. It was free, like absolutely €0 again, making money here. I remember this is like a very OG TikTok book, and it's supposed to be really sad. So many people said that it made them cry because it's about a girl that loses her boyfriend, and then sometime later she calls him to hear his voice on the answering machine or something, and he picks up. So I think it's about her second chance at saying goodbye, and it literally says, what would you do if you had a second chance at goodbye? So it intrigued me enough to take it with me. I think I'm going to do some research and see how people feel about the book now, because it was quite some time ago that that was really popular. But another book that I found at the, well actually I did not find it, a friend of mine found it and she gave it to me, is Exciting Times, also from the book exchange card. I again have no idea what this is about, however the cover's really cute and it was free. I'll take anything if it's for free. I have heard mixed reviews about that one, but I am intrigued. Next, I have a book that I had been eyeing for quite some time, and then again, Amazon had a sale recently, so I bought quite a few books. I think I bought like 10, 13 books in one go. But one of them was The Two of Us by Taylor Torres. I had been eyeing this book for quite some time, however, it's individually published and it's her debut book, so I did not really know if I was all too interested in that because it was quite expensive because it was individually published, and like I just did not know if I wanted to spend that kind of money on a book where I had not read anything by the author prior to that. Then it was on sale and I was like, okay, this is the time. But it says, sometimes holding on to pain means letting go of love. It's a second chance romance. Girl comes back into town and she wants to avoid one person at all costs, but that's incredibly impossible because he lives right across the street. But I've heard so many people say that this is really sad and that it made them cry, and I'm always up for that. So I also love second chance romance and kind of childhood friends to lovers, or like when they were involved in childhood, like if it's friends, if they had a relationship when they were younger. Then I have 3 books that I bought because I watched the Heartstopper series. Last year, the 2nd season of Heartstopper came out and I got completely obsessed. I love that show so much. It's just like, it feels like a warm hug. So I bought the Heartstopper books, and then I also bought other books by Alice Oseman because I have Loveless and I wanted to have Solitaire, Radio Silence this winter. I think I'm missing one of them. I Was Born This Way, that's the one I'm missing. I think they're young adult books, but like the Heartstopper books are very much graphic novels, and this is like just a normal book. So I am really intrigued to read this one because I think one of these, this one, no. This one is about Charlie's older sister, and that's actually where the series started, and then Heartstopper came after. So I am just really interested to see how Alice Oseman reads, because I love the story that she created with Heartstopper. So I'm really intrigued, and I just wanted to read all of these, and someone was selling them for like super cheap, so I like, I'm perfect, give me all of them. And also, they're so cute and colourful. They're young adult, but I think they're like more meaningful young adult, because I know the one that's called Loveless is about being asexual and being incredibly insecure about the fact that everyone around you is like in love and in relationships and blah blah blah, and that you don't feel that. So that's really interesting. And I think one of these is about depression, and the other one is about just feeling incredibly lonely, and I think that she just writes about more intense subjects but from a very young adult point of view, so I'm really interested to see how she does that. Then next I have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I read Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake last year, I believe, and I really enjoyed that one, so I wanted to read her other books that also involved some kind of love story. So this is One for My Enemy. It's about two rival witch families in New York, and I think an enemies to lovers romance develops between a child from both families. There's also drawings in this one, however the hardcover version, because these drawings are kind of creepy, but the hardcover version has, I've seen it in Waterstones I think, has beautiful art on the inside, so I kind of want that one. However, I paid for this one and I'm reading this one, and I have another book by her, this one. I also have Masters of Death by her. This one says, Viola Merrick is a struggling estate agent and vampire, but her biggest issue is that the house she's selling is haunted. The ghost haunting this mansion has been murdered, and until he solves the mystery behind his death, he refuses to move on. And then also, I think there's a romance between them, but I think romance is not like the main plot in her books, because it was in Alone with You in the Ether, but like there was so much more going on and it was more like a literary fiction love story. So I think both of these are also going to be like a subplot of romance. But her writing style is very interesting, sometimes a bit harder to understand and maybe even a bit pretentious at some points, but I absolutely loved it, and I underlined so many things in Alone with You in the Ether, so I hope that these are going to be similar in writing style, because I thought that was so incredibly beautiful. Next, I have a book that is also kind of different than what I usually read, because I have The Idiot by Ella Batumon. It says Pulitzer Prize finalist. I heard very interesting things about this one. I have no idea what this is about, absolutely no idea. However, I've heard that it was really funny. Again, it was on sale on Amazon, so I was like, well, why not? On the back it says, easily the funniest book I've read this year by GQ. I also heard someone on YouTube that I watched said she read this and that it was fantastic. So I'm really intrigued and curious to see what that's all about, even though I have no idea what the storyline is and anything. Then I have two books that I'm so excited for. I have Behind the Net and then The Fake Out. I am so excited to read this one because I have heard fantastic things. However, I have to read this one first. So I have been eyeing this one constantly. Like, since it has been on my shelf, I have wanted to pick it up. However, I want to read this one first, and I'm not really in the mood for this one. Really in the mood for this one because this is fake dating, and that just happens to be one of my favorite romance tropes, because it's so unrealistic, but it's so fun and it has so much jealousy and all that stuff. So I am really excited to read this one. I don't really know what this one is about. Obviously they're both sports romances. I don't love the covers. These are not books that I want to be reading in public. However, I don't really care. This one is a assistant slash hockey player. She lives with him because she's his assistant. It's very much Grumpy Sunshine, I think. I don't know, I think they used to know each other and she thinks that he doesn't remember her, but he does. And this one is fake dating, I think. Yeah. The best way to get back at my horrible ex, fake date his rival. I have heard so many good things about this one, so I want to read this one so badly. However, I need to read this one first, but I have been in the mood for like a hockey romance, so I think I'm going to be picking these up very soon. Then I have a book that I also got at the same market for €1 again, which is One Italian Summer. I just bought this because I recognized it, and also it's a hardcover. It says that it was $27 US, and I got this for €1, even though it's in, like, it's used obviously, but it's in perfect condition, like it's completely fine. But I thought the cover was really cute, and this screams summer. I don't know if I said summer romance because I don't know if it's a romance, but summer book. I think it's more of like a literary fiction story. So I am really curious to read that one, and also because I just want to see what I bought I have no idea. I have no idea what it's about. I have no idea if it's going to be fun. Then I have 3 books by the same author. I have Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman, then I have Lotus by Jennifer Hartman, and then I have June 1st by Jennifer Hartman. This one I actually bought because so many people recommended it and said it was a very emotional romance. And then I bought this one in London recently when I was there with a friend, and apparently you have to read this one before you read this one, which was perfect because I started reading this one immediately. So I've already finished this one, and I will talk about it in an upcoming video again. And now I can actually read this one, and this one is about 2 people who get kidnapped and then fall in love. And this one is about someone else who got kidnapped and he was in captivity for 22 years, I think. And then he gets out and he comes back to where he used to live, and I think it's a romance between him and one of his childhood best friends. That sounds really, really interesting because childhood best friends lovers is one of my absolute favorite tropes in romance books, and this one has a twist and also a darker side, and I think it's going to be really, really interesting, and I did like her writing style. And then I have this one, which was very much an impulse buy, again, when Amazon had a sale, because for some reason, this brick of a book, it has over 4 stars on Goodreads, I think. This book was €3.50. Usually it's €5 something, which is so cheap for like a book that's about 600 pages. 600 pages of book. You get 600 pages of story for €5. That's not normal. I saw this and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it was €3.50 suddenly, and I was like, well, perfect. Give that one to me. I will take it. But anyway, I am really excited to read all of them, and again, they also have the American floppiness, which is great. Then next I bought Just Kids by Patti Smith because it won the National Book Award, and one of my friends read it and said it was absolutely beautiful. It's a love story between Patti Smith and the guy that she was involved with, Dylan Thomas, I think. Because the only reason I know that is because Patti Smith and Dylan Thomas were mentioned in the Torture Poets department, which was really funny to me because I bought this book and then the album came out and I was like, hey, I just bought this. So that was funny to me, but I mostly bought it because one of my friends said it was beautiful and it was on sale, and I was like, this is the perfect time to buy it. And I know absolutely nothing about them, and that's what this book is for. So I am excited to read this and to know a bit more about them and their love story. Then I have a literary fiction summer book, Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. I am really excited to read this one because I have heard so many people rave about this for like, I think 2 summers now, and I never bought it because it was quite expensive, and then again suddenly it was on sale, and this screams summer, not only because she is on a beach but because the colours. And it's about a 14-year-old girl, Mary Jane, who babysits for a family that is really, really different than hers because they're a lot more free and free-spirited and just spiritual and stuff. And it takes place in the 1970s in Baltimore. And as far as I know, it's just about her discovering another way of living because she lives with like very strict parents and stuff. Again, I could be completely wrong about this, but I have heard really good things, so I am really excited to read that one as well. Then I have 2 fantasy books. For some reason, I own the first book in this series by Stephanie Garber. This one is called Once Upon a Broken Heart. And then this one is called A Curse for True Love. This is the first book, this is the 3rd book, so I am missing the 2nd book, and the reason for that is I bought this one because everyone was raving about this series, and I wanted to know what all the fuss was about. So I bought this one, and then I was like, okay, you know what, I have to stop buying the entire series before I've even read the first book, because maybe you absolutely hate it. That's a very real possibility. So I was planning on just buying this book. However, the covers are really beautiful and really cute, so I bought this one. I know nothing about this except that it's a fairy tale, romance, fantasy book, young adult, and I think it's enemies to lovers? I don't know. I know everyone is a big fan of Jax. Is he the Prince of Hearts? His name is not mentioned on this, but I know someone named Jax is a very widely loved character in that series. So I was not buying on planning this one. That was completely turned around. I was not planning on buying this one, but look at this cover. Look at this. This is beautiful. So I did not have a choice because this usually it's I think like €20 and then it was suddenly 11, and that is almost a 50% discount. So I was actually ambushed with this one. This was through no fault of my own. I had to buy this. So I did, and now I am missing the 2nd one. And since I have the 1st one and the 3rd one, I am now obligated to like this series. So I can already tell you that I'm going to love it because I bought this one. So anyway, then I have Atomic Habits by James Clear. This one says over 8 million copies sold, and that is a lot. This is I wanted to say a psychological suspense book, and that's absolutely not what this is. This is a self-help book. two completely different things. Anyway, this is supposed to be like very small things that you can do each day to better yourself and to create healthy habits. So it says tiny changes, remarkable results. I am not the biggest fan of self-help books. Like, I have read, as I'm saying that, I'm looking at another self-help book, but I read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck a few years ago, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, and I really enjoyed that one. So I have heard great things about this one as well, so I wanted to give it a shot. And then again, someone was selling it for €2, even though this one is like €16 on Amazon, so I was, again, like, pff, you give me no choice. And I've heard great things about this, also from people who are quite cynical towards self-help books, so I think that's a very good sign. And then, just to bang the self-help books out, then I have Everything's Fucked. I also got this one from the book exchange cart at the train station. I don't know what this one is about, but this is from the same author as The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and I loved that book, so therefore I was like, well, might as well take this one with me. That's not one that I'm going to read anytime soon, because I'm not reading self-help books from like my own enjoyment. Every single time I finish a book, I am grabbing another fiction book because I love fiction, so self-help is very low on my to-be-read list, but I think those are like the books I grab when I'm like, wow, you have really done it this time, you need help, and a book is much cheaper than therapy. Anyway, back to the fun books. Then I have The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I also have The Dead Romantics by her. She writes love stories, like romances with a magical realism element to it. So this one, I think, every single time she walks into her apartment, she meets a man who lives in her apartment like 7 years in the past. So every single time she walks out of the apartment, he's gone, I think. That's like truly all I know, and that's why the explanation is so absolute shit. But I also know that so many people that read this book were so positive about it, and every single person that I watch on YouTube that has read this book loved it. So therefore I think I will love it as well. And I think it sounds like a very interesting concept. A love story 7 years in the past, and then every single time you walk out of your apartment, the love of your life is gone. That sounds really, really difficult. Then I have another romance book. This is so stupid. I have every single Lauren Asher book that she has ever written. Have I read any of them? No. So, when she came out with a new book, for some reason, I was like, I must have this because she is one of my auto-buy authors. So I bought Love Redesigned because apparently she is one of my auto-buy authors, even though I have not read a single book by her. I have all of the books in the Dreamland Billionaire series, I think that's what it's called, and then I also have all of the books in the Dirty Air series. Actually, one of them is also new, so hold on. So when this book came out, I was like, Lauren Asher, love her, I've got to have that book. And then I received it, and I was like, what? I don't know why in my head I've made it so that she is an auto-buy author for me and I must have all of her books, because I do own all of her books. 8 of them. 8 of them. 8! So I don't know how that happened. However, that one is very much on me. I am at fault here. I am the problem. But anyway, so I have Love Redesigned and Collided by Lauren Asher. A friend of mine was not very enthusiastic about this book, but I have heard so many people love it. So I am still very enthusiastic about it. Moving on, I have a book called Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. This is a very much indie published version, as you can see. I bought this because it has dragons on the front of the book, and I was completely obsessed with Fourth Wing and Iron Flame in November, I think, so I wanted another like fantasy romance that involved dragons. Enemies to Lovers, I think, Slow Burn, and just, I don't know, fantasy romance with dragons. That's all I was looking for. Okay, so this says Princess, Prisoner, Runaway Queen. Elowyn Atara, I think that's her name, Princess of Imarath, these fancy names, good god. Okay, came into the world like a firestorm made flesh. A princess with a link to 5 dragons should have been a blessing to her kingdom, but her blessing became her curse. The little girl in shackles became a knife-wielding woman with a thirst for retaliation. I think she was done wrong in the past, and she is retaliating. That's all I take away from this. And it has dragons and romance, and also the cover is really cool. So that's that one. Then I have a book that is a literary fiction. It's definitely not a love story, but the reason I bought this book is because it reminds me, I have not read the book, but the synopsis and stuff reminds me of Would've, Could've, Should've by Taylor Swift, and I love that song so much. So I bought My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This is about a young girl who has a romantic relationship with one of her teachers, and then she grows up and realizes, or like someone makes her realize, that that relationship was absolutely not okay and that it was kind of a power play and that he took advantage of her and stuff. But it takes place in the year 2000, and then another part takes place in the year 2017, so she is 17 years older at that point, and then she starts to realize that what happened to her was not okay. And that sounded really interesting, and a friend of mine read this and said it was really, really beautiful but really dark. So I'm really excited. I have been wanting to read this one for a while because I think 2 friends of mine actually read this and both loved it. Then I have a book that I am so excited for, and it's called The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I think this one has gone viral on like TikTok, BookTok, BookTube, whatever, Instagram twice, like 2 different times, one 2 years back or something, and then again this year, and I am so excited to read this one. I went on the hunt for this because it's actually really hard to get where I live and I paid way too much. However, I'm really excited to read this one because I have heard that this is like the vampire version of Hunger Games, and that sounds fantastic and super interesting to me. And everyone said that if you loved Fourth Wing, you should read this one. On the back it says, "The Hunger Games meets vampires in this heart-wrenching epic fantasy romance of dark magic and bloodthirsty intrigue from best-selling author Carissa Broadbent." I have heard so many good things about this one. I have heard that it's very much a slow burn and enemies to lovers, and the second book is probably where the romance is really going to start. However, that one is even harder to get. So I don't really want to start reading this one if I don't have the second one that I can read like immediately after this. But I might start this soon anyway because I can't wait. That's one of the ones I am most excited about, I think. Then I actually have another fantasy book, which is Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. I read the first one, Divine Rivals, in February or something. I don't know, in the beginning of the year. And I enjoyed that one, so I wanted to read this one as well. I wanted to buy like the beautiful white version because I have the beautiful black version of the first book, and the second one was the same kind of vibe in white. However, that one was like 25 euros and I found this one secondhand for 5. So choice was easily made. And also, I don't hate this version, but this is the UK version, I think, and the other one is the American version, and I just like the American version so much better. But this is the second book, and I liked the first one. I think I gave that one 4 stars or something. So this is the second book in that fantasy duology. Like, it's fantasy romance, and I think it's young adult, but it's 18 and 19, I think their ages are. I'm not going to explain what this book is about because it went completely viral, and we have a lot of books still to get through. Then I have The Rachel Incident by Carolyn O'Donoghue. Apparently this is up in like a competition for best book of 2020. I have no idea. I saw it somewhere, it was nominated for something, but this says, "The Rachel Incident is an all-consuming love story, but it's not the one you're expecting. It's unconventional and messy. It's young and foolish. It's about losing and finding yourself, but it's always about love." And that sounds really, really interesting and intriguing to me. I also really like this cover, and I think it was on sale when I bought it, and it had been on my radar for quite some time. Then I have 2 more stacks of books that I'm just going to... Oh my god. Oh. I went to the gym yesterday, which I have not done in a while. I have not trained upper body in a while. So every single time I'm lifting a stack of books, like my back, I want to cry. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. Okay. Then I have a book that is called In the Absence of Men by Philippe Besson. I read a book called Lie With Me by him last year, and I absolutely loved that book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. So I really wanted to see if he had any other books that were translated to English, because originally the stories are told in French. And he had one more, I think. That's all I found, at least. It's called In the Absence of Men, and it's also about 2 boys. I think it's 1916. The other book was told in the 80s, and it's a love story between 2 boys, and I loved the first one. I loved Lie With Me, so I'm really excited to read this one. And I also want to read this one soon because I gave the same one in French to my grandmother because she speaks French, and so I gave both of those books to her. I told her to read Lie With Me, but she read the wrong one, so now I have to read this one quickly so I can talk about it with her. Then I have On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I fell victim to the Instagram book talk gods with this one because it had been on my radar for a while. However, the only reason I bought this is because I saw one quote that said, "I love you more than I remember you," and I was like, okay, perfect, add to cart, buy. So I am really excited to read this one since I want to know if the rest of the book is as beautifully written as that one sentence, because I read that one sentence and I was like, I need to read that. So I have heard really good things about this one, and also again, I love the cover, and it's the American floppy version, and I just love American books. We only have like the very stiff cardboard ones over here, and I just want books like this. So I am really happy that I found this one, and it was also really cheap, and I think Jack Edwards also really loves that one. Another book that I found through Jack Edwards is called Mayflies by Andrew O'Hagan. As far as I know, this is very much a book about friendship and maybe also loss. because on the back it says, everyone has a Tully Dawson, the friend who defines your life. And then it says a whole bunch of things, and then 30 years on, half a life away, the phone rings. Tully has news. A tender goodbye to an old union. May flies his story of the joy and the costs of love. And that sounds so intriguing to me, because every single time I have read a book with a similar premise, I have absolutely loved it. So I am so excited to read this one. And I think this is going to be a very meaningful, I think this is going to make me cry. I think this one is going to make me cry. I think On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is going to make me cry. A Little Life is going to make me cry. In the Absence of Men, also probably going to make me cry. I had another one, I think Stay True, is also going to make me cry. So I have quite a few books here that are probably tearjerkers, but I am so excited to read them because I love staring at my book and staring at the ceiling and sobbing at 2 o'clock in the morning and not being able to breathe because I am crying so loud. I love that. Anyway, then I have a book that's completely different. I have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I think that's how you pronounce it. It says lesson 1 of the Scholomance, and this is supposed to be a magic school, black cat, golden retriever kind of thing. I saw this in the bookstore one day and one of the workers had recommended it, like with a card and why they loved it and stuff, and I think this kind of gives me Harry Potter vibes for some reason. Not for some reasons because it's a magic school, but I have heard good things about this one and I don't know, it seems really fun. And black cat, golden retriever is something I adore in books, so not much more was needed. It said magic school, black cat, golden retriever, and I was sold. So I also have this one because I want to get into more fantasy and I also want to read more young adult because I have been getting a little bit sick of new adult romances. So I need to do something different. I need to try young adult or like fantasy or something. But anyway, then I do have actually a new adult romance. It's called Rules Between Roommates by C.L. Sharples. It says falling in love is easy, but it's also against the rules. This is a romance between a girl who moves to a new city and who starts working at a new job, and then apparently her roommate that she just moved in with is also not her boss, but someone who is very much above her in like the workplace. And he doesn't want to be friends. They become friends anyway, and they fall in love, and it's roommates and blah blah blah. I just thought the cover was so adorable. And also, I think this one has 90 reviews on Goodreads, so I was really intrigued because I think I stumbled upon this on Amazon, and I was just really intrigued to read a book that no one else knows about. So I hope this is going to be good, because it would be really fun to kind of discover a book for myself that like was not blown up on TikTok or something. Could also be incredibly bad, no one knows, but I have high hopes, don't know why, just really want it to be good. Then I have a book that is by Mariana Zapata. It's called All Roads Lead Here. I have actually never read a book by Mariana Zapata. People said that it was quite similar to Chloe Walsh's writing in Boys of Torment, and I love that series. It's one of my favorite series ever, and so if this is anything close to that, I'll be super super happy. I don't really know what this one's about. Small town, enemies to lovers, slow burn. I think all of her books are slow burn, almost like 600 pages or something. Yeah. 500 something. I have a few more books by Mariana Zapata actually. I have The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, which I think all of her books are almost enemies to lovers, and I have also heard that all of the men in her books are super mean, like incredibly grumpy, like bordering on like asshole mean. I think one of these books, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me or Cruelty, people were like, he is actually just mean. It's not romantic, it's not enemies to lovers, it's not like grumpy sunshine, it's just, he's just really really mean. And I would like to see that for myself. So I am intrigued to read all of these. I think I'm going to try to read one of her books very soon. However, I don't know why, but the size kind of intimidates me, even though like my favorite books are Boys of Torment, like the 800-page books almost. Magnolia Park's also above 400 pages, Fourth Wing also above 400 pages. So I love bigger books because you get so much more of the characters, but it is intimidating starting new books that are like these 300 pages seems doable. Over 400 pages, like around 5, I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll just start something else. But I am excited to start reading Mariana Zapata books because everyone seems to love her. And again, I am like everyone else, I'll probably love them. Then I have The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. This is also a book that I bought at the secondhand bookstore. This one I actually bought for myself, not because I wanted to buy something from the older lady. I have heard great things about this one and it kind of intrigues me, like the title intrigues me even though I have no idea what the story is about, but I don't know. And also the fact that the pages are yellow, it's old and really small, so I thought, well, a smaller meaningful book for like €1 again sounds great. Then I have a book that a friend of mine actually bought me a while ago as a present because she read another book by this author. I think she read Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I did not pronounce that right. So sorry. But she gave me Clara and the Sun, and I have heard really good things about this. And the book that she read made her cry like uncontrollably. And so she wants that for me too, and I want that for me too. So I hope that this book is going to do that. It's not really long, I think it's like 330 pages, but for some reason this book still intimidates me. I love the cover, the simplicity of it. I have no idea what it's about, so maybe that's why it intimidates me. It says, in Clara and the Sun, Kazuo Ishiguro looks at our rapidly changing world through the eyes of an unforgettable narrator who explores a fundamental question. What does it mean to love? I do really love that. Like, what does it mean to love? Is that's like the big underlying thing in this book. That sounds really intriguing to me. Then I have, again, an completely, I have the first book in a series and the last book in a series. So I have The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and then I have Warstorm, also by Victoria Aveyard. First book in the series, fourth book in the series. Where are the second and the third book? I don't know. I was able to buy these for like €1.50, €1.50, and I was like, perfect, I will take them. I'm going to need the second and third book as well, but this is a fantasy romance book series. I have heard that it's quite similar to Powerless, even though this one was released like years ago. This one has over 1 million reviews on Goodreads, and it still has 4 stars. You did something right. If you have over 1 million reviews and you have 4 stars, then you absolutely did something right. So I'm really intrigued. However, since it's very similar to Powerless, a friend of mine is reading these right now because I gifted the entire series to her. She also read Powerless and she was like, it is very similar. So if I had not read Powerless, I might love this series even more. So now I don't know if I have to read The Red Queen first or Powerless first, because apparently they are very, very similar. Then I have a book which is the third book in a series. I have the first one. The first one is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, and this one is Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. I have never read a book by Lucy Score. Absolutely never. And I heard so many good things about Things We Never Got Over a year back or something, a year and a half back, and now everyone suddenly hates it. And I have heard very mixed reviews about this series in general, and so now I am intrigued and also a bit apprehensive, because these books are like 600 pages, and if people don't like them, I'm a bit scared, but I do really want to try them for myself, so we will see. I don't know why I bought this book. I think I was able to buy it for like a few euros, and I was like, that opportunity is not going to keep presenting itself because it's completely new. So I am intrigued by this series. However, since so many people I've given so many mixed reviews, I don't grab it. Like, every single time I finish a book, I don't have this series in the back of my mind. I keep forgetting about it, actually, but I am intrigued to see, because I also have heard so many good things, like so many mixed reviews. Either people love this series or they hate it. And I obviously want to be one of the people that loves it, because I spent money on these books and it would be perfect if I absolutely loved them. But I'm just so scared that I'm going to be one of the people that hates it, that I just don't grab it. But if you have read that series, please comment and tell me if it's good or not. Then I have Say You Swear. No. This one is called Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino. I read Before We Were Strangers by her, like I think a year and a half ago or something. I enjoyed that one, and this one sounds very interesting to me. On the back it says, imagine opening a book and discovering that someone else has written your life story. So this is about a girl who reads a manuscript, I think for her job or something, and she realizes that it's her life story, and the only person that could have possibly written that book is her ex-boyfriend. So then she starts reading the manuscript, she gets in contact with him and is like, why on earth are you writing about me without consulting me and stuff? So I think they get reacquainted, and it's a second chance romance. It sounds interesting. I think it's a then and now chapter, and you like read a part of the manuscript and then you read a part of her life now and stuff. I don't know. It's supposed to be really interesting, and I can't wait to read this one. I think I'm going to read this one soon, because now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, sounds cool. Let's do that. Then I have a book that I, again, have no idea what it's about. I thrifted this one, again, from the older woman. And she is so sweet. Like, I can't walk out of there without buying anything. So, I bought She Who Became the Sun by I started reading Rebel Warrior Hero, and I thought I was reading the author's name. The author's name is Shelley Parker Chen, and on the bottom it says Rebel Warrior Hero. I have no idea what this is about. This is not a romance, this is a fantasy. It's set in China in 1345, so it's very much back in the day. I think it has fantastical elements because it has a dragon on the front. I have absolutely no idea. So I just bought this because I recognized it, and I was like, well, might as well take it with me. I have a problem. I need to stop doing that. I need to stop thinking like, well, I recognized it from somewhere, so let's take it home. That's dumb. Anyway, then I have Girl Abroad by Elle Kennedy. I have also already read this one, so I will also be talking about this one in an upcoming video. However, I love Elle Kennedy, so when she came out with a book that was set in London about a girl who goes on an exchange year to England, I was like, fantastic, sounds great. It also has a love triangle, and I don't mind love triangles, I actually kind of like them. I know that's a very unpopular opinion, but I actually kind of enjoy them. So that's that one. Then we got to the last, is this the last book? This is the last book of the book haul. I think I have been filming for 2 hours, so I hope I'll be able to narrow this video down. But the last book in this book haul is Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am actually really angry and bummed about this book since I ordered a different cover off of Amazon and then I got this one, and I did not want this one. I wanted the one with the palm trees, I think, the lights of the palm trees. But this one, it's not so bad. However, that was not the deal that we had. That was not the deal I had with Amazon. Anyway, this is about a girl who has no idea what she wants to do with her life, and then one night at a bar she has the opportunity to go home with her best friend Gabby or her high school boyfriend Ethan, and I think she starts thinking about what happens if she leaves with Gabby, what happens if she leaves with Ethan, and I have no idea. However, I loved One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, so I have accumulated so many of her books. I think I have almost all of her books and I have read one. So I am excited to read this one as well. That is all of the books in this book haul. Should we count them? I'll count them. I'll be right back. I counted 65 books, but that cannot be right. Let me count again. It's 65 books. That's embarrassing. Alright, so I have added 65 books to my physical TBR. As if my physical TBR was not endless already, I have just added 65 books. I hope you enjoyed me showing you 65 of my new books. It's not normal. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please let me know, and I will hopefully see you in my next video very, very soon.